Hey, welcome back to another episode of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD podcast. We'll be right back with today's tech tip guest, but we want to give a shout out to our podcast partners, the Florida Coaches Coalition, We Coach, and the Global Community of Women in High School Sports, three great organizations that you really need to be a part of. So sit back and relax, don't fast forward, and take a listen to our sponsor shout outs for our 8 great sponsors. We appreciate it. We want to thank Athletic Surveys for their support of the podcast. Athletic Surveys are a quick and easy way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire program. As athletic directors, we typically only hear from that 2% of disgruntled students or parents, and we do need to hear from them. But you also need to hear from the 98% of your student athletes and parents that really love your program. And Athletic Surveys allows you to do that. That's a tremendously valuable tool to have that information, that positive feedback from 98% to share with a disgruntled parent or your principal or your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out what they can provide you in the area of confidential, quick turnaround surveys. If you've never done a survey with your student athletes or your parents, you're really missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com and find out all the things that they can do for you. That's athleticsurveys.com. We also want to say thanks to Final Forms, the industry leader in forms and registration. Final Forms can help your stakeholders with things like reminders about policies, about physicals, and all the forms that come when you have an athlete in the house. Final Forms can also help your coaches with attendance and communication. And for athletic directors, Final Forms can help you with eligibility and rosters and all the reports that come across your desk. It's time that you talk to someone who gets it. For more information, go to finalforms.com/Jake. That's finalforms.com/Jake and get started with Final Forms. We also want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. They're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school records for all the teams or your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles, along with their variety of templates. They're going to help you recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. To get started, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and see how athletic directors are creating custom content for their school social media channels. It's so easy, you can do it in seconds, and you don't need any design experience. Go to Gipper.com and tell them you heard about it on the podcast. Use our code ADPOD10 and you'll get 10% off. That's Gipper.com. Create custom content for your school's social media channel. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. Huddle is the single solution to elevate your program. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but as an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just love the tools, the analytics, the smart cameras, but there's so much more. Huddle has game plans backed by data. You can save valuable time, and they'll adjust game speed to the demands that your school has. Help your players and your program get noticed. Go to huddle.com for more information. That's huddle.com. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com. They're not only going to show you how to sell your tickets for athletic events, but also for things like school plays, your school concerts, dances, even graduation. You'll find it all at hometownticketing.com. And every step of the way, you're going to have a dedicated client success manager that's providing you with hands-on support. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com. Simple and easy online ticketing. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Snap Mobile. Go to snapraise.com and check out their entire suite of platforms designed to help you do your job better. Snap Store allows you to order custom gear for everyone in your program. Snap Connect is their family engagement program. And Snap Raise is their fundraising platform. We've used it. with great success, and they've helped schools just like yours raise over $700 million. You can find it all at snapraise.com. They even have a program where they will give you your money before you actually start your fundraiser. Does anyone else offer that? Go to snapraise.com and get started today. And we want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor scoring tables and video boards. You've heard me say it before. We've got a Sideline Interactive score table in our gym, and it's just fantastic. We use it for home games, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. It's tremendously versatile, and the customer service is just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo. You won't be disappointed. That's sidelineinteractive.com. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We are going international for the very first time on Tech Tuesday, and we've got, I think, a really unique curve, if you will. You'll see where I'm coming from once we get going. But our guest today on Tech Tuesday is Michele Warner. She's currently living in Ontario, just outside of Toronto, Canada, and she is the coordinator of school and community partnerships for the Mississauga Steelheads, which is a junior hockey team in Canada. She's also involved with a cool project that she's going to talk about a little bit later. But Michele, welcome to Tech Tuesday on the podcast.
Hi, Jake. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, we're glad you're here. We're glad you can spend some time with us. I know you've got an incredibly busy schedule. Let's go and do a little bit of background before we get into your project. Let our listeners know where you were born, where you grew up, maybe a little sports background, and what how your career has led you to your current position.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up just north of Toronto. Growing up, my main sports I competed in were alpine ski racing, as well as ballet. So it was an interesting combination of the two. Eventually, I had to choose one as sport became very busy. So I competed throughout till the end of high school in alpine skiing. I attended the National Ski Academy in Collingwood for 2 years. And then following that, I pursued my undergrad degree out west in Vancouver at UBC. So it was a nice transition out west to ski some nice big mountains and continue my alpine ski racing career. I pursued my undergrad in kinesiology there with a minor in psychology. And I tried to explore and take on as many opportunities as I could while I was in school to try to figure out what might be the best career option for myself. And through actually our alpine ski team there, I had the opportunity to take on a leadership position and essentially manage the team, our 30 student roster team, along with our 4 other student executives to help with the actual operations, execution, travel, finance, alumni relations. So I did that for a few years, and that kind of led me to thinking I might want to pursue sport more on the business and operations side. So following my completion of my undergrad degree, I applied to master's in sports management programs. This was right when COVID hit in the winter of 2020. But I was accepted to a program it was called EM Lyon Business School in France. So in the fall of 2020, I moved to Paris to complete this master's program, for which I am now completing my thesis, and this is the project that we'll discuss a little bit further in detail.
Again, I always love to hear the paths, the stories that are part of the early career, and you're certainly at the beginning of your career. talk a little bit about, that jump. Now, again, that you're working for the Mississauga Steelhead Junior hockey team. How is that going? What's some of the exciting things that you're doing with the team right now?
Yeah, so it's been going really well. I actually came into the position. I began as an intern in the fall of 2021, which was a part of a component for completing my master's program. So I began working on our ticketing and partnership side. And this was our first season back since COVID. So it was definitely an interesting way to get into the sports industry, dealing with these specific challenges that no one has really experienced yet. It was new for all of us. But as we've progressed from last year and now through this season 22-23, we've been really gaining a lot more momentum in bringing back our fans. We're specifically trying to implement new ways to interact in our community. For those of you who probably don't know, Mississauga, just outside of Toronto, is one of the most diverse communities in the Greater Toronto Area. So we're just trying to draw upon the different demographics and cultures to try to share something that is very uniquely Canadian to those who may have never experienced that before.
Yeah, again, Michelle and I were talking before we came on, a long time ago back in Portland, Oregon, had a distant association with the Portland Winterhawk junior hockey team. A lot of fun, great stuff. I'm loving that pullover you got for the Mississauga Steelhead. I'm going to have to go on your website and order one. Very cool logo. Let's go and jump into your project. I saw this posted. You had this posted on LinkedIn. And I thought it would be a great way to kind of connect you with our listeners. I'm going to let you explain it, and then we'll talk about how our listeners can help you with this project. So, go ahead and share your project.
Yeah, thank you. So essentially, when I began thinking about my master's thesis, we had one class where we were discussing the NCAA and their business model, which I hadn't really considered before, though being in close proximity to the States, I was very aware of the NCAA and how popular, how many student athletes go through the program. So when I began my research, I found that there was a lot of existing literature that covers many different aspects of the NCAA and their student athletes. So through my thesis, my goals were to try to find some realistic ways that schools could improve their student athletes' experiences, as well as help their transition out of college to life after sport. So in my survey that I'm looking to collect data with, I further examined 3 areas. One which is the understanding of the complex rules and regulations that the NCAA implements for those member institutions and their student athletes. The second is students' feeling of connectedness and support to their school, as well as the staff. And then finally is the students' transition to their life after college when their career in sports ends, as typically only 1% to 2% of athletes actually go on to compete professionally after school.
Yeah, and again, collecting that type of data, I think really is timely now, where we talk about, athlete mental health, student athlete mental health. We also talk about the transition from, the athlete to that next phase in their life, which happens much more frequently for high school athletes because there's, fewer going on to college. But again, thought it was a great topic and thought it was a great way, again, to connect with our listeners. So many of our listeners are athletic directors and coaches and are former NCAA athletes, so they could respond from a personal level. But I'm going to guess far more actually have student athletes that they coached or that attended their school that are now NCAA athletes that they could pass this survey on to. So If one of our listeners want to participate and help out with this, either directly or passing it on, what's the next step? How do they help you out?
Yeah. So if you're interested in providing feedback through my survey, you can either connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is Michele Warner. Additionally, you could email me at michele.warner@icloud.com. And that would be the best way to connect, so I can share the appropriate link with you.
Okay. And that Michele is 1L, correct? Yeah.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
1L Michele. Okay. Michele Warner, Michele.Warner@icloud.net. Did I say that right?
Yeah, iCloud.com.
.com. Michele.Warner@icloud.com. Michele Warner, so cool getting to know you a little bit and finding out, all the things that you're doing on your current job path. All the best moving forward in your career. Keep us posted. Let us know how things are going. And of course, all the best with your survey.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity and the time to chat with you.
Oh, no problem. Definitely our pleasure. For our listeners, we do this every single week and we upload the Zoom recordings to our YouTube channel, the Educational AD Podcast. We appreciate you listening today. Come back next Tuesday for another tech tip and just about every day for the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. One more time, we appreciate you listening, and we want to give a shout out to our partners, the Florida Coaches Coalition, We Coach, and the global community of women in high school sports. We also want to give a shout out to our sponsors. We have 8 sponsors. Every single one of them I used as an athletic director or as a football coach, with one exception. You've heard me say it before, Hometown Ticketing, but I didn't use them because I retired just as they were coming into vogue. But I've talked to hundreds of ADs across the country who all swear by Hometown Ticketing. So go to hometownticketing.com and check them out. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. Go to huddle.com. As a football coach, I loved Huddle. As an athletic director, we were a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com for more information. I want to thank Snap Mobile. Snap Mobile has a wonderful suite of platforms for a lot of different cool things. We use Snap for fundraising, and it was so very effective that I highly recommend it. And as you've heard me say, they've got a program where you can get your money before you actually start your fundraiser. I don't think anybody else does that. I want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com, use our code ADPOD10, and you get 10% off. That's Gipper.com. Want to thank Final Forms, the official registration platform for the FIAAA's annual conference. Go to finalforms.com/Jake. Find out all the ways that they can help you. That's finalforms.com/Jake. We'd like to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for the coolest way to display your school's record boards or your Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. We'd also like to thank Sideline Interactive indoor scoring tables and video boards. One of the best purchases I ever made was a Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com, schedule a live web demonstration. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox. Go to athleticsurveys.com, find out the power of having data to share with parents, student athletes, coaches, and your boss. That's athleticsurveys.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast.